In this week's episode, the Flash finally takes on Zoom, and he does. Let me put it to you this way, guys. This episode should have been called "The Man That Broke the Flash," and if you get that reference, I will love you forever. What is up, everybody? John Blade 101 here again, and I am back with another video. And today I'm going to be reviewing this week's episode of The Flash. Enter Zoom. So this week kind of left off with last week left off with Barry talking to Linda Park from Earth 2, otherwise known as Dr. Light, and he pretty much just asked her for her help against Zoom and any information she can give on Zoom. So one of the questions he asks her actually is, how would Zoom know that you killed me? She talks about how she was supposed to throw something into the void or the portal that from Earth 1 to Earth 2, something that she could only get if she killed the Flash, which was actually his emblem. So Barry asks her again to ask her help. She kind of just says, "I'm afraid, and you're no match for Zoom, and I really don't want to do this." So this is kind of where everyone kind of has to talk about what to do with Dr. Light. Even meanwhile, at the police station, Joe and his partner Patty Spivot actually have a little conversation about Dr. Light. Well, Patty wants to talk about more information she found about Dr. Light and how she could possibly use her light powers to actually become invisible, and maybe that could be a pretty bad thing for trying to catch her. But Joe pretty much blows her off and says that the case is over, this case is done, there's no need to talk about it anymore, just leave it alone. And she kind of just says, "Okay, that's weird. We just talked about her a couple of days ago. I mean, just yesterday we were talking about her, and now we're just gonna quit." And that didn't really seem right to her. And well, that's kind of how it. Patty's still left in the dark because she's still not an official member of Team Flash, and so I guess they're going to continue this dynamic for a little bit longer. So that's pretty much how it goes for Patty. But actually, she was 100% right, and actually, uh, Dr. Light uses her powers to become invisible, takes off her clothes, and folds it neatly in like the little corner. And when Cisco goes to get her food or something like that and checks on her, she appears to be invisible. And so Cisco opens the thing to see what was going on, and then she just runs right out, knocks Cisco over, and she just runs away. And the only reason we know where she is because she actually kicked over a bag, and it just moves slightly, so she knows she left. And then they alert Barry, and then Barry zooms over, and she's just gone. So now we have a naked Dr. Light / Linda Park running around from Earth 2. So I don't know how exactly they're going to play with that, but I'm sure it'll come by at some point later on. So it's because they don't have the Dr. Light from Earth 2. Barry has to come up with a different plan, which is actually to use Linda from Earth 1, dress her up in Dr. Light's clothes that she left behind, and use her to lure in Zoom so they can try these new anti-speed like darts that Dr. Harrison Wells created to combat Zoom. So Belinda's already eager to, at Central City Picture News, meanwhile, Linda's already eager to already search for Dr. Light and learn anything she can about her so she can stop her, because she actually killed her boss / editor of the news station they're working at. And so Iris gives her the chance, and Iris talks to Baron how she thinks that's a good idea. So they all use her, and so she dresses up like Dr. Light, and they have a hilarious training montage of Linda dressed up like Dr. Light, and she's supposed to be shooting these targets or these cardboard cutouts that Cisco actually made. He just had lying around for some reason. I thought that was pretty funny, and they actually had all these funny images or whatever. But Linda shoots around. She can't quite get the hang of it at first, but eventually she does start to get the Flash stuff, and Barry tries to reach out for a high five, and then when she goes for a high shot, she shoots a blast, and it hits Cisco a little bit. He falls over. That was a really funny scene. Just an excellent training montage. That's kind of like the humor I would expect in a show like The Flash. So, anyways, they go to the. Everyone else kind of thinks that Linda is not ready to take on Zoom. He's going to get her killed. So Linda kind of gets a little bit depressed, and she lives around the house thinking she can do anything. So Barry, dressed up as the Flash, actually tries to build her up a little bit and give her motivation, but she's not really budging. So he actually unmasks himself in front of Linda, revealing that he is in fact Barry Allen. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. But the Flash is revealing his identity a little bit fast for this season, but still nonetheless a pretty good scene in general. But meanwhile, also Cisco and Caitlin are a little bit suspicious about this Dr. Harrison Wells from Earth 2, and so Cisco tries to use his vibe powers, which is by touching something from a different dimension and seeing how that would work out. So he touches Dr. Harrison Wells, and actually Wells actually realizes that Cisco is not what he's doing, and he tells him, "What are you doing? Did you just try to vibe off of me? What did you vibe off of me?" and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty funny. He immediately figured out what Cisco was doing. So, anyways, they go to the actual trying to lure in Zoom thing. They go by one of the bricks, one of the portals between Earth 1 and Earth 2 to try to stop Zoom, and they kind of have their little play, like pretend fight between Linda and Barry, and it's a really funny scene because they try to do some banter to make it look like it's real, and Linda just keeps on talking about how Zoom is gonna kill you. I'm working for Zoom, and all hail Zoom and stuff like that, and you're gonna die and stuff like this. And Barry's like, I'm gonna stop you, villain. And it's so awkward, but it's very hilarious at the same time. And so they actually kind of begin their little fight thing, and Linda actually fires the first shot, and it completely misses Barry, but then he decides just to fall over anyway for for pretty much no reason at all, which I thought was very funny. It was probably one of the funniest scenes in this episode. But anyways, Linda gets her little hose in, and she actually hits Barry, and he falls over, pretending to be dead. And then Linda takes off his little emblem and throws it in the portal, and they all wait for Zoom. Joe and Harrison Wells have their little sniper guns carrying the dart, and they wait near the portal and wait for Zoom to jump out. So their plan is actually to shoot Zoom as soon as he comes out of the portal, so he has no time to react to the blow. But no, Zoom doesn't come. They've been there for hours, and Zoom decides not there because I guess he probably figured out and knows that this whole thing is fake and that they're not. Then this is the whole not serious, and they're just a trap. So that was pretty funny. So they kind of just the whole plan is just a bust. Harrison Wells from Earth 2 just kind of walks away, pretty angry, and that's kind of how it goes. And then Iris and what's her name, Linda, actually have a little conversation back at Picture News, and they talk about how they're the new sidekicks of the Flash, and they need to do like wrestling, not wrestling, but like workouts together and whatever. And then Linda walks outside to go home, and then Zoom just shows up directly in front of her, stares her directly in the face, and then takes her and flies over and runs over. And then Iris actually calls Barry to go alert her that Zoom is actually has taken Linda. So Barry zooms over to Central City, but Star Labs. We're trying to find Linda, but it's actually they have the little security thing, and it goes off, and it says that Zoom is on the roof. And so Flash zooms up to the roof, and this is the first confrontation Flash and Zoom have, and this whole thing is set up pretty perfectly. I had kind of like Green Goblin, Spider-Man vibes here for a second because he held Linda over the roof and dropped there, and so Barry had to zoom down there and had to use his arms to create like a little spin cycle thing so she would land safely. And then Zoom rushes down there too, and they have a great standoff. They stared right at each other, and they prepare to fight. And so Barry actually uses a technique that he learned from Jay Garrick, where he runs around the whole the building numerous times over and over and over again, and actually tries to hit Zoom with lightning. But Zoom just has none of that. He grabs that lightning out of the air, like makes it almost look like it's physical, and throws it directly right at Barry, knocking him to a sign. And that's where we realized that Zoom was a lot faster than we anticipated. Even though it was kind of like theorized that he was going to be much faster, we didn't know exactly how fast it was. So this was a pretty big shock. And so the Flash tries to talk about, what do you want from me? He says, everything. And he's like, oh, you want to be me? You want to be a hero? And Zoom just says, heroes die. And it's like, only if you can catch them. So Flash zooms up the building, and they have a little speed thing. And so Barry goes up into the air and actually tries to do a technique I thought was pretty cool. He tries to hit terminal velocity, so neither Zoom or him can move any faster than each other. So they have a little air fight, and then Zoom gets the hell to hold him in the air, and then he hits him really hard on the ground, and then Zoom picks him up and starts beating the mess out of him. Like the blows, like if you saw the first season how Reverse Flash hit Barry, those blows look hard, but they didn't look like Zoom. Zoom's blows had this heaviness to it, like you could just feel every punch, and it was just so fast. And so Harrison, knowing that Barry's probably going to lose, he tries to shoot Zoom with a dart, and he just turns, grabs it, and says, remember, I'm the fastest man alive, and you're not going to catch me with that. So he takes the little two darts that not Zoom and Barry had, but Dr. Barry and Dr. Wells had, and then stabs him directly into Barry, removing him of his speed. And then one of the best moments this season happens, where Zoom grabs Barry and just goes around town, takes him for a ride all across Central City, takes him to the Central City Picture News, takes him to the police station, where they have this really awesome scene where the police officers shoot at him. He just grabs all the bullets and then just drops them on the ground, and then just keeps on going. But they also had a pretty fun scene where at the news station when he grabbed him, threw him on the table first. I love how he just throws him on the table first and then talks about, he said, "You think this man is a god?" And just like holds him up in the air. Zoom holds Flash up in one air in front of everybody on live television, thinking like you're not a god and all this stuff like that. It's hilarious. It's not hilarious, but it's a little bit funny. But it's so sad at the same time. And so when he's at the news station, he talks about the era of the Flash protecting this city is over. And they try to shoot him. He grabs all the bullets, and it's just so amazing. Just one of the best scenes. And then they have this little scene where Zoom is flying around town, and Barry's just helpless to do anything because Zoom actually like hit him in the back really hard, like broke his spine or something like that. And so Barry's just like a rag doll being dragged around the entire city in front of his friends, in front of his family, everybody just getting dragged around. Brings him right back to Star Labs, holds Barry up in the air, and it's like, Harrison Wells, you honestly thought you could defeat me with this? Removes him of his mask and then stabs Barry right in the chest, almost killing him. But Cisco does actually land one of those darts and hits him right in the neck. Zoom falls, but then he immediately gets up and runs away because I think that dart was getting ready to take effect. So Zoom escapes, but Barry is in some pretty bad condition. He's pretty bloodied up. Probably the most bloody I've ever seen him. And so they have a little scene where Harrison Wells, Joe's father Joe actually gets mad at Harrison Wells talking about if Barry dies, he dies, and all that stuff like that. Very tense moment. And so, Barry does actually end up waking up after like 2 or 3 days, and they tell him that he actually cannot feel his legs, which I thought was a pretty good way to end this episode. This is probably one of the most brutal beatings of the entire series, or if not the most brutal beating of the entire series, and left Barry crippled. So I can only imagine that this would probably instill some fear in the Barry next time he sees Zoom, and probably make him think twice about facing Zoom again. So all in all, this is a fantastic episode. This hit so many good tones. It hit that hero sympathy tone with Zoom dragging around Barry. It was amazing. It's just like one of the best moments the entire season. I can't wait for the next episode, guys, because it is going to be Gorilla Garage. So all in all, I'll give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. Alright then, this is John Blade 101, everybody, and I bid y'all good day. Have a good one.